Hi, it's Matt with customcargrills.com. As many of you have requested, we've come up with a do-it-yourself woven wire kit for the 6th generation Mustang GT. The first thing we're going to do is test fit the pre-cut pieces to make sure that they fit correctly. Several mounting bases will be provided, and the first of them should be placed between the center and side openings. On the upper grille, we're going to use 16 bases total in this area, 8 on the driver and 8 on the passenger side. For the lower grille, we'll use 4 bases per side, 8 in total. To hold the bases down, automotive goop, applied with a toothpick, is highly recommended. Getting the adhesive around the perimeter of the mounting base will significantly strengthen the installation since the woven mesh is very heavy duty. We're making sure not to get any adhesive too close to the edge so that it won't drip through the front of the grille openings. Also, the slots and the bases for the ties need to remain open. This adhesive takes a while to cure, so patience is needed during this step. Different adhesives or application methods can be used, but this is overall one of the quickest and easiest. Next, repeat the same steps on the other side of the grille. Then, once the upper grille is done, let's apply adhesive to the mounting bases on the lower grille. Now we're going to wait for the adhesive to cure. After a short while, it's time to get some of the ties placed in the bases. At first, we're simply getting the ties through both of the openings that are lined up in the mounting bases. Once they're all in place, we'll pull them through a little bit more. It's ideal to have about a 50-50 split of the head and tail of the tie to be pulled through. Both ends will need to be sent through the mesh openings. With the mesh in place, running some ties through the mesh and around the grille will help steady the mesh for the rest of the installation and will be removed later. Now the fun starts with trying to feed the tie ends through the woven mesh. This mesh is extremely sharp on the ends, and caution should be used during this step. Once a tie head and tail is wrapped around a wire close to the base, I'm going to very loosely fasten it in place. After all the ties are connected to themselves, it's time to tighten them down. While we do want a firm hold on the mesh to the grille, it's important not to over-tighten the ties and potentially break one. Placing mounting bases around the rest of the grille requires some attention to the details of where the mesh openings are. It's important to have enough room in the mesh opening for the tie to move freely. Attention to lining up the mounting base correctly is also needed so that the tie will freely slide through the base. Before moving forward, we're going to test to make sure that everything is lined up good and that the tie will be able to move. If there's a problem with positioning, this is the time to fix it. In general, from here, we feel it's easier to work on the inner area first and then work our way out. Once we're happy with the positioning of the bases, it's time to adhere them in place using the same adhesive as used earlier. After the adhesive is cured in these spots, the ties will be fed through the mesh and through the mounting bases. Repeat this step around the grille as needed. Almost 100 ties and bases were used between the top and bottom grilles during the making of this. After the ties are tightened, the tail ends can be clipped off so that they can't be seen through the front. Here's an example of how the ties and bases should look as they go around a corner. This can be a very tedious process, but it's needed to properly hold the mesh in place. Once all the ties are affixed through the mesh and the mounting bases, the few guide ties that were used earlier can be removed. Now it's time to test the strength of the installation. If there's any weaknesses, it must be fixed before reinstalling the grille back on the vehicle. Here's the final installation of our mesh. This is a very aggressive look, and while the installation can be challenging, the end result is quite rewarding. Caution absolutely needs to be used while handling this type of mesh. This mesh is razor sharp and can easily cut skin or clothing. If modification to the mesh is required for installation, heavy-duty tools will be needed to cut through this mesh. This is one of the thickest meshes we have and one of the toughest on the market today. I hope you liked this video, and as usual, if you have any questions about this video or any of our others, feel free to contact us. Thanks.